Ibrahim Traoré is the Captain President Ibrahim Traoré of the traditional president of Burkina Faso.
I think he's a remarkable leader for the whole world. Whenever I see him, I'm really compelled by him.
Taking hands off of Ibrahim Traoré. And we're representing social political innovation because we want economic development. We don't want degrowth.
They kicked out the French. They formed an alliance with Mali and Niger. Security defense, economic defense. Traoré is leading an agricultural revolution. They are training soldiers to be farmers. They're training farmers to be soldiers. And he's a Muslim. And it is now a crime in Burkina Faso to stir up religious division that undermines the unity of the country.
Hold on tight, brothers and sisters of Africa and the global diaspora, because the ground is shaking beneath the feet of empires. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the 37-year-old firebrand of Burkina Faso, has ignited a blaze so fierce it's scorching the West's carefully crafted illusions of dominance. In a twist that has left Washington, Paris and London reeling, white Americans, yes, white Americans, are marching through the streets of Chicago, Atlanta and DC, hoisting placards with Traoré's face, chanting his name as the embodiment of fearless, principled leadership. The West is in a full-blown panic, their leaders trembling as this young African titan's influence crosses oceans, uniting unlikely allies and exposing their neo-colonial house of cards. From Ouagadougou's dusty streets to the heart of the US, Traoré is rewriting the rules, and the global elite are terrified. Picture this. A small but fierce group of white Americans, yes, white Americans, marching through the streets of Washington, D.C., waving banners with Captain Traoré's face, chanting, "Africa rises with Traoré." These aren't African diaspora communities or black activists. These are everyday folks from Middle America, disillusioned with their own leaders, who see in Traoré a fearless, principled figure who puts his people first. This unprecedented support from the heart of the United States has sent shockwaves through the Western establishment. Just weeks ago, on April 3, 2025, US General Michael Langley, head of AFRICOM, took to the Senate floor, accusing Traoré of misusing Burkina Faso's gold reserves to prop up his junta instead of serving his people. It was a classic Western smear, straight out of the playbook to discredit African leaders who dare to defy imperialist agendas. But Langley's words didn't just fall flat, they backfired spectacularly. Instead of tarnishing Traoré's image, the accusations ignited a global firestorm of support. On April 30, 2025, tens of thousands of Burkinabés flooded the streets of Ouagadougou, chanting, "Our gold, our future." Solidarity rallies erupted in London, Nairobi, Accra, and even among African diaspora communities in Paris and New York. The message was clear. Traoré is not just Burkina Faso's leader, he's a global symbol of resistance. What's got the West shaking in their boots is how Traoré's influence has pierced their propaganda bubble. On platforms like X, white Americans are posting about him with awe. Why can't our leaders have Traoré's guts? He's fighting for his people, not Wall Street, one user wrote. Another declared, Traoré's what leadership looks like, fearless, honest and real. Even Donald Trump, a man not known for humility, is reportedly rattled. Sources close to the former president say he's been privately asking aides why a young African leader is gaining traction among his own base, who see in Traoré a no-nonsense, anti-establishment figure who mirrors Trump's own populist appeal, but with a moral compass rooted in justice, not ego. This is a wake-up call for the West. Traoré is not just an African phenomenon. He's a global force, and his influence is spreading faster than they can contain. To understand why Captain Ibrahim Traoré is shaking the world, we need to rewind to his meteoric rise. On September 30, 2022, at just 34 years old, Traoré led a coup against Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba, who had ousted President Roch-Marc Kabore earlier that year. Traoré, a battle-hardened artillery captain who cut his teeth fighting jihadists in northern Burkina Faso and served in the UN peacekeeping mission in Mali, was fed up. Damiba, he argued, had failed to tackle the growing insurgency and was too cozy with France, Burkina Faso's former colonial master. Traoré saw politicians pocketing suitcases of money while soldiers on the front lines lacked basic equipment. Enough was enough. This wasn't just a power grab, it was a generational revolt. At 37, Traoré is Africa's youngest head of state, a stark contrast to the continent's average leader age of 63. His youth, charisma, and unapologetic Pan-Africanist rhetoric have made him a hero for a generation tired of corrupt, Western-backed regimes. Drawing inspiration from Burkina Faso's revolutionary icon Thomas Sankara, often dubbed Africa's Che Guevara, Traoré has revived Sankara's vision of self-reliance, resource sovereignty, and African unity. He's not just talking about change, he's delivering it. And the results are rewriting Burkina Faso's story. Since seizing power, Captain Traoré has launched a radical transformation of Burkina Faso, proving that African nations can thrive when leaders prioritize their people over foreign interests. Let's break down how he's turning Burkina Faso into a model for the continent and the world. Even the World Bank and IMF, institutions notorious for their skepticism of anti-Western leaders, have been forced to acknowledge Burkina Faso's economic boom. According to the World Bank's 2024 report, Burkina Faso's GDP skyrocketed from 18.8 billion in 2022 to 22.1 billion in 2024, with consistent annual growth of 4 to 6%. Extreme poverty, defined as living on less than $2.15 a day, dropped from 27.7% in 2022 to 24.9% in 2024, driven by robust growth in agriculture and services. The IMF, in its April 2025 report, praised Burkina Faso's positive fiscal discipline and increased investment in local industries, projecting sustained growth through 2030. Traoré's rejection of IMF and World Bank loans has been a game-changer. Afraal doesn't need the World Bank, IMF, Europe or America, he declared in a fiery speech in 2023, opting instead to pay off local debts and fund development through domestic resources. By redirecting gold revenues and cutting wasteful spending, such as slashing ministers' salaries by 30%, Traoré has freed Burkina Faso from the chokehold of Western financial institutions, allowing him to invest in his people without the strings of neoliberal conditionalities. This is economic sovereignty in action, and it's making the West nervous. Burkina Faso is Africa's fourth largest gold producer, with gold accounting for 80% of its exports and 12% of its GDP. For decades, foreign corporations, mostly Western, plundered this wealth, while Burkinabe languished in poverty. Traoré said, "No more." In 2023, he nationalized 2 major gold mines, halting the export of unrefined gold to Europe and inaugurating a state-owned gold refinery capable of processing 150 tons annually. This move ensures that Burkina Faso retains the full value of its resources, with projections estimating an additional $120 in GDP per capita by 2043 and lifting 2.4 million people out of poverty. When General Langley accused Traoré of misusing gold reserves, the Burkinabe people saw it for what it was, a desperate attempt to discredit a leader who's reclaiming his nation's wealth. "Our gold, not yours," Traoré thundered in response, rallying thousands in Ouagadougou to defend their sovereignty. Social media lit up with support, with one ex-post declaring, "Traoré's protecting Burkina's gold while the West cries foul. They're mad because they can't steal anymore." This is about more than gold. It's about dignity, self-determination, and breaking the chains of neo-colonial exploitation. Traoré's agricultural reforms are nothing short of revolutionary, echoing Sankara's vision of self-reliance. He's distributed 400 tractors, 714 motorcycles, 710 motor pumps, and 239 tillers to farmers, boosting productivity and ensuring food security. Tomato production surged from 350,000 metric tons in 2022 to 360,000 in 2024, millet from 907,000 to 1.1 million, and rice from 280,000 to 326,000. In March 2025, Traoré inaugurated the state-owned Faso Kosam dairy factory, with plans for more to reduce reliance on imported dairy. A national support centre for artisanal cotton processing has revitalised Burkina Faso's cotton industry, a lifeline for millions of farmers. These achievements are more than numbers. They're a lifeline for a nation where 40% of the population once faced food insecurity. Traoré's focus on agriculture has not only fed his people, but also inspired farmers across West Africa. If Burkina Faso can do it, so can we, a Malian farmer told Al Jazeera, crediting Traoré's policies for sparking a regional agricultural renaissance. Traoré's infrastructure projects are reshaping Burkina Faso's landscape. He's overseeing the construction of new roads and upgrading gravel roads to paved surfaces, connecting rural communities to markets and opportunities. The Ouagadougou-Donson Airport, set to open in late 2025, with a capacity for 1 million passengers annually, will boost regional integration and tourism. The Samandeni hydroelectric dam, nearing completion, promises sustainable energy for millions, reducing reliance on imported power. In healthcare, Traoré is tackling Burkina Faso's dire medical challenges head-on. A child born in Burkina Faso is 16 times more likely to die in their first year than one born in France, and life expectancy is 20 years shorter. Traoré's government is building and equipping hospitals, ensuring access to quality care. In 2024, he inaugurated 3 new hospitals in Ouagadougou, Bobo-Dioulasso, and Koudougou, equipped with modern facilities and staffed by trained professionals. Mobile clinics now reach remote villages, providing vaccinations and maternal care. These efforts are saving lives and earning Traoré global acclaim as a leader who prioritizes human development over Western appeasement. Traoré's vision extends to education, a cornerstone of his revolution. He's increased funding for schools, built new classrooms, and provided free textbooks to students in rural areas. Teacher salaries have risen by 20%, attracting qualified educators to underserved regions. In 2024, Burkina Faso saw a 15% increase in primary school enrollment, with girls' attendance rising sharply thanks to Traoré's campaigns against early marriage and gender-based discrimination. An educated nation is a free nation, Traoré declared, channeling Sankara's belief in knowledge as liberation. What makes Captain Traoré a global icon is his unyielding courage in confronting Western imperialism. When France, Burkina Faso's former colonial ruler, demanded gratitude for its military aid, Traoré expelled their troops and diplomats in 2023, accusing them of political interference under the guise of counter-terrorism. France's wealth was built on African blood and resources, he said in a speech that went viral, dismissing President Emmanuel Macron's patronizing remarks. Mali, Niger, Chad, Senegal, and Ivory Coast followed suit, expelling French forces and forming the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, with Burkina Faso, a bold step toward a unified anti-imperialist Africa. Traoré's alignment with Russia, Cuba, and Venezuela has sent the West into a tailspin. His appearance at Moscow's Victory Day celebrations on May 9, 2025, alongside President Vladimir Putin, was a powerful statement of South-South cooperation. Traoré hailed Russia as a model for mutually beneficial partnerships, a stark contrast to the exploitative relationships imposed by the West. Russian troops, including the Wagner Group, arrived in Burkina Faso in January 2024 to support anti-jihadist operations, a move Traoré framed as a sovereign choice, not a new dependency. Posts on X celebrated this shift. Traoré's telling the West, "We don't need you, Russia's helping without strings attached." The West's response, desperation. General Langley's accusations were just the tip of the iceberg. Reports of a foiled coup attempt in April 2025, allegedly orchestrated from Ivory Coast, a US-backed neighbor, reveal the lengths to which Western powers will go to stop Traoré. Social media campaigns, some linked to Russian disinformation, have amplified his image, but the West's own missteps, like Langley's smear, have only fueled his popularity. The US and EU see Traoré as a dangerous actor, not because he's failing, but because he's succeeding in dismantling their neo-colonial grip. Traoré's rise is a direct challenge to Africa's corrupt Western-backed leaders. At Ghanaian President John Mahama's inauguration in January 2025, Traoré received the loudest cheers among 21 African heads of state, a testament to his appeal among the youth. This has unnerved leaders who rely on foreign aid and military support to cling to power. Traoré's refusal to be bought by the West, opting for his modest military captain's salary while slashing ministers' pay by 30% and boosting civil servants' salaries by 50%, exposes the greed of leaders who siphon off public funds. Some African leaders, like Ivory Coast's Alassane Ouattara, are reportedly complicit in Western efforts to destabilize Traoré's regime. The foiled coup plot in April 2025, allegedly based in Abidjan, underscores the threat Traoré poses to the status quo. As one ex-post put it, Traoré is shining a light on the corruption of African leaders who bow to the West. They fear him because he shows what's possible. From Nigeria to Cameroon, leaders are watching nervously as Traoré's popularity inspires youth-led movements demanding accountability and sovereignty. Why does the West fear Captain Ibrahim Traoré? Because he's dismantling their neo-colonial playbook. His nationalization of gold mines, rejection of IMF loans, and expulsion of French troops threaten the economic and military dominance that Western powers have enjoyed since colonial times. The CFA franc, a currency Traoré calls a tool of slavery, is under scrutiny as Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger plan a new independent currency. This shift toward multipolarity with partnerships from Russia, Turkey and Iran undermines the West's monopoly on African resources and influence. The West's propaganda machine is in overdrive, labeling Traoré an autocrat and accusing him of human rights abuses. His crackdowns on dissenting journalists and forced conscription of critics are concerning, but they mirror tactics used by Western-backed regimes across Africa. The difference? Traoré's actions serve his people, not foreign corporations. The West's hypocrisy is glaring. They tolerate repression when it suits their interests but cry foul when it challenges their dominance. Traoré's global influence, amplified by social media and AI-generated content, is a nightmare for Western strategists. Viral videos, some deepfakes, depict him as a divine warrior or Africa's messiah, resonating with a generation fed up with neo-colonialism. While some of this is propaganda, the organic support, evidenced by rallies in Ouagadougou, London, and beyond, shows that Traoré's message is real. The West fears that if Traoré succeeds, other African nations will follow, dismantling the France-Afrique system and ushering in a truly independent Africa. As Traoré's influence grows, so do the risks. History is a harsh teacher. African leaders who challenge the West often meet tragic ends. Thomas Sankara was assassinated in 1987 in a French-backed coup. Muammar Gaddafi was toppled and killed in 2011 after defying Western interests. Patrice Lumumba, Kwame Nkrumah, the list is long. Traoré is well aware of this, as evidenced by his heavy security in the foiled coup attempt since he took power. The April 2025 plot, allegedly backed by Western allies in Ivory Coast, was a stark reminder of the dangers he faces. Social media is ablaze with warnings. America's after Traoré like they were after Gaddafi, one user wrote. If they touch him, it's a declaration of war against Africa. Another declared, Traoré's the next Sankara and the West knows it. They'll do anything to stop him. The African Union and progressive forces must rally to protect Traoré, not just for Burkina Faso, but for the continent's future. A setback here could delay Africa's liberation by decades. Captain Ibrahim Traoré is more than a leader, he's a movement. His vision to make Burkina Faso one of West Africa's greatest nations is coming to life in less than 3 years. From nationalizing gold mines to revolutionizing agriculture, building roads, equipping hospitals, and empowering youth through education, Traoré is proving that Africa can rise when its leaders reject Western puppetry. His popularity from Ouagadougou to Atlanta is a testament to his authenticity. He's not in it for the money or the fame, he's in it for his people. As one supporter in Ouagadougou told the BBC, Captain Traoré is hope for Africa, hope for black people, hope for all freedom fighters around the globe. His refusal to be bought by the West, his alignment with Pan-Africanist ideals, and his tangible achievements make him a threat to both Western powers and corrupt African leaders. But for the youth, the diaspora, and now even white Americans, Traoré is a symbol of what leadership should be: fearless, principled, and unapologetically African. Brothers and sisters, the revolution is here. Captain Ibrahim Traoré is leading the charge, and the world is watching. Will the West succeed in stopping him, or will he ignite a new era of African sovereignty? The answer lies in our hands. Let's stand with Traoré, for Burkina Faso, for Africa, and for a world free from imperialism. Vive la Revolution!